guys. I mean, it's like, I don't know where we talked about up in Maine, like there's a list, but there's no necessarily rhyme or reason to the list. And what I've been telling guys is, you got to you got to put yourself out there and add value, right? And don't just think, oh, I'm ready for leadership, but nobody knows who you are. That's not really the path to leadership, right?
Right.
You gotta show that you gotta lead without the title, I think, before you actually get the title, right? And so that the title isn't what you're striving for.
Okay, we're recording, so you just dropped a bomb right there. Let's start it right there. Who are you and where are you leading?
Yeah, absolutely. Huh?
Introduce yourself. Tell us who you are.
Yeah, Jairdullo. I am a father, husband, police officer, member of the Iron Council. And I think July or August of 2018, I believe, and became a member of Bravo by the end of August, and was with Bravo till I jumped over and started Crusader.
How many guys are in the Forge now?
We're at about 225, 224 new members.
Did you see that coming?
I didn't. I don't. The goal Ryan set when he opened it up was 100, and we surpassed that. Obviously, we doubled it, right? And it's exciting. It's not surprising. I don't know that I saw it coming, just because Ryan had kind of set the goal at 100, so that was like the number. But in hindsight, I don't think it's surprising, right? I think the mission is picking up speed, and Ryan's certainly an order of man, is certainly leading one of the leaders, if not the leader of that movement, that mission, and there's a need for it. So,
what'd your wife say to it all when you said, I'm going to take on this extra gig?
My wife is truly, and I know it sounds cliche, my biggest fan, right? She to the point where even when I joined the Iron Council 3.5 years ago, when we had the conversation, she said, I think you're doing pretty good. My answer to her was, I am doing pretty good, but I want to be doing pretty great. She's
a LEO too, right?
Yeah. Yep. We're both lieutenants in the same police department. Recent promotions, about 2 months we've been lieutenants. Exciting time for my family. But yeah, she's been supportive through all this. Again, my wife will, if I say the sky's green, my wife will back me 100%, even though she knows it's blue. So she's very loyal.
It's a side text going, that's blue, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
That's
so,
good.
She was excited for me, and in her mind, and we all need to kind of get better at seeing ourselves as other people see us, because in her mind, she's like, yeah, of course you're going to do that. Like, that's not a surprise to her, right? Because she sees me as that leader that I don't see myself as necessarily yet. We talked a little bit before the call about that, and just in the last year, 6 months to a year, and I think putting myself out there and stepping into these leaderships, starting Crusader, speaking at the main event. Listen, I wasn't ready to speak at that main event, but the minute they announced it, I had no idea, what the plan was, but I reached out to Gatch and said, listen, I know Ryan knows a lot of heavy hitters, but I'd love to speak about my backgrounds in health and fitness. I'd love to speak about the conditioning quadrant if you guys see fit. He put it out there to Ryan, and it happened. And why? Because I took that chance. I said before, I didn't sit on the sidelines waiting to be asked, right? If I didn't put myself out there, I probably would have never spoke there, and I'd still be sitting there, thinking to myself, oh man, I could do that. I could speak up there. It's just putting yourself out there, and I think the one thing that I need to be better at, and I think a lot of guys struggle with this, is seeing myself as other people see me.
What are two things that guys can do in their fitness and their condition quadrant today without big dealing it and overcomplicating it?
Yeah, honestly, I think pick one thing to cut out of your nutrition, right? So there was a time, and I don't know if you've seen the picture, Reese, but I was pushing 300 pounds.
Okay.
And
I've not seen that one.
I'll have to show it to you. I have
the only one that's resonating with me right now is that handsome one that's on the Order of Man store with,
that still blows my mind that they saw fit to put me in there.
I'm not sure if they photoshopped your neck or not, but but looking at that hoodie, I'm going to say no, that was no Photoshop. Go ahead.
Yeah. but so my kind of story is high school and college athlete, always fit, always kind of um, uh, training and had goals, but it was all wrapped around sports. And then graduate college and get into law enforcement. And there was a period in there where just not real happy with life and unsatisfied with my career. And I didn't realize at the time, but I ate my feelings, right? I never thought I was a stress eater, but I ate my feelings. So there's a picture of me and I'm pushing 300 and not a good 300 pounds.
Apples and donuts.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. What did you say? Snapples?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I'm getting at. So when I decided enough is enough, what am I doing here? Like, this is not me. Like that, I look back now and I can't even believe that that's me. Even when I show the picture to this day, I get a little sick feeling in my stomach because it's just wasn't who I am. But so I was working the midnight shift at the time and I would drink 32-ounce Snapples, several of them throughout a 10.5-hour shift. I cut those out and lost like 20 pounds. So pick one thing that you can cut out of your diet today that you know is holding you back. Cut that out, and then from a exercise standpoint, walk 30-minute walk a day. Break it up into 10 3-minute walks a day. You do the if you're coming off the couch, you do those two things, you will see significant. Now, at some point, if you're 60 pounds overweight and your goal, what you want to lose 60 pounds, like you're not going to do that by just cutting one thing out and walking, but you're going to get pretty
more.
Yeah. Right. You're going to get pretty close. And then you start dialing it in as you go. And as like we talked about before, as you create the habits, right? Because if you tell yourself right now, I'm going to go to the gym 3 to 5 days a week, I'm going to start counting my macros, I'm going to cut sugar out of my diet, and you try and do it all at once, you're setting yourself up for failure. So even when we do these battle plans on council, and we see it, right? These guys come out hard and fast, and everybody's got a real aggressive first battle plan. I try and get guys to and maybe this is counterintuitive to what some other guys teach them, but to for lack of a better word, dumb it down a little bit and create some wins, right? You want to stretch yourself, but make it so that you can create those habits and create some wins so that as at your end of your first 90 days, you can say, you know what, look at these habits I created and build off that, right? And go a little bit more aggressive with the next one. And then when you're 2, 3, 4, 5 years in, you can really start stretching those boundaries. But you got to create the habits and the habits that are going to last first.
I'll challenge you, just my experience, and you could say otherwise too. I've never had any luck with abstinence by abstaining going. So like you said, I'm going to cut out the Snapples. Okay. But that's an abstinence move. What did you do instead of cutting out the Snapple? What did you do that had you proactively doing something?
I'm not sure.
Instead of saying Snapple is like, I'm only drinking water today. That's all I drink. Yeah. So that's your go-to. All I drank was water today. And then you saw it begin to slip away and like the Snapples. But instead of going, well, I'm cutting this out, I'm abstaining from Snapples, like maybe, but if you had that one proactive thing, what's the proactive thing?
I think that's just it. Telling yourself, I don't know that I did that, to be honest with you. I think the way I work and listen, I'm not, don't get me wrong. I still struggle with my diet. If I had to say there's one thing that I struggle with in my conditioning quadrant, it's my diet. I have a sweet tooth. But
so my bad thing. It's salty.
Yeah, for sure.
I could knock out a bag in a minute, man.
For me, it's really I am. And I created these habits as a young man when you could eat whatever you wanted, right? I'm like I would eat junk food all the time if it didn't negatively affect me. I mean, it's just, right. So replacing, I think what you're talking about is replacing that bad habit with a good habit, right?
Right.
And I think that's a great strategy. I don't know that I necessarily did that other than to say in my head, I knew that drinking, and that's not to say I never had a Snapple. I don't have the taste for it now that I used to. Occasionally I'll have a Snapple, but when I have it, it doesn't have the same. I mean, I was literally addicted to the caffeine in the Snapple. Like I went through withdrawal when I stopped, but it was just, for me, I don't know that I can't remember back, but because it was about 10 years ago that this all went down. I don't really think that I consciously replaced the bad habit with a good habit. I think I just said no more Snapples. And again, what probably wasn't always successful, but I wasn't drinking 4 or 5 a night, but I do think that's a good strategy to replace a bad habit with a good habit. And I think I think it's one of the best strategies.
When did your wife notice?
Notice that
It just starting to turn those things around. What did it happen in the first week? I'm setting it. It's a lob. That's a lob. It's,
yeah, no,
it wasn't in a week.
No, it wasn't in a week. And again, I'm not even sure that necessarily my wife saw me as far away from the person I wanted to be as I saw.
I say that because I didn't share my battle plan with my wife until about almost 3 years in.
Yeah, so
I kept it close to my chest. So
it's funny you say that. I don't necessarily. I know, I don't share my battle plan with my wife like totally in detail. Like I don't sit down with her and say, "Here's my battle plan." I'm not hide it from her. Like she'll know, like, oh, I'm working on this because it's part of my calibration quadrant. But it's not like we sit down and we go over my battle plan. Like I know some guys really do that. I don't. And again, it's not that I'm hiding it from her. It's not. I don't know. We've just never like. She knows what I'm working on. She doesn't necessarily know like exactly what my tactic is, or
did you know you were working on something from day one, or did you kind of keep it close to your chest for a little bit and going, oh yeah, I've been doing this thing with my internet friends?
No, she knew pretty much from day one. She knew pretty
Okay.
much from day one. Listen, the way my wife, I'm spending money. So the way my wife and I operate is she's going to know that I'm spending money on something. We're having a conversation about it. So I don't know that I shared exactly what we were doing, like the details of how the Iron Council worked right away. I don't know when, to be honest with you, I couldn't tell you when, she knows if I say battle plan now, she knows what a battle plan is. I don't know when that happened, that she was that familiar with what we do here.
You've been on a couple of local meetups.
For sure. Yeah. They're invaluable.
Who set those up?
So the most recent one I set up, we had one just last weekend, this past 3-4 days ago, Sunday. Tyson Yonkers is in my region. He's in New Jersey. He's from New Jersey, but he's moving down to Florida, starting a school down there, starting a new chapter of his life. So he had requested that maybe we could have one more Northeast regional kind of meetup before he left. So we met at the Delaware Water Gap, which is the border of Pennsylvania and New Jersey. I think we had 7 guys show up. Did about a 4-mile hike up Mount Tammany at the Delaware Water Gap, and then went out to a local restaurant and had a meal. So it was good. And what I realized is that's where, listen, these Zoom calls, the Mighty Networks, there's a ton of value there, right? Obviously I wouldn't still be around if there wasn't, but when you start meeting these guys nose to nose and toes to toes, it brings your relationship to another level. But what I've noticed is especially lately, there's a lot of guys stepping up. The first meetup I think I ever went on was in Delaware, and a younger guy who, I don't know, Josh Hubler, I don't know how long he had been in the IC, but out of the group, he was relatively young, and just took the initiative to say, hey, we're going to set up this. We went, I forget, we went to some like museum in Delaware. It wasn't a museum. I wish I could remember, but anyway, it was a good meetup, and I feel like there's guys just stepping up, putting themselves out there and starting these meetups. It's really not led by one particular person, at least in our Northeast region.
Yeah. I found it that, and I've been putting meetups together for a while, and being intentional like that. And the ones where they come out of the woodwork is when you go do something stupid and completely, utterly pointless, like climbing a mountain, or that borders on a little bit of danger, a little bit of risk. You see them come out of the woodwork for that.
Yeah,
and but then you tell them to go and have a biscuit afterwards, and then half of them drop out, and so that just tells you it's like it wasn't about the food, it wasn't about the biscuit.
No, for sure, yeah, and we know this, right? There's camaraderie and shared suffering, right? So you go out, you sweat a little bit, you put a little effort forward, and there's camaraderie in that. So it builds strong relationships. I've always been a big proponent of that, and you get through something, you suffer through something, and it brings you a little closer.
That's what I've been trying to do with you see me posting around things, and this, I'll put this on my YouTube channel and recognize Red Cell Network. And it's just a way to get guys organized. And I'm going to take them through a journey to, one, tap into who you know and tap into who they know, and take advantage or be intentional and be deliberate about leading locally. Yeah. And when I sat alone and like, wait, who do I know? And I went through my different networks and feeds, and it's like, crap, I got like 150,000 people that I'm connected to. And if all I'm doing is like posting cat memes and the rock band that I liked back in the day, it's like, and I'm just contributing to the noise. So as like, I got a ton of skills here. It's like, well, how do I start pulling those guys together? And that's what the conversation of Red Cell was supposed to be about.
Nice.
So,
and ironically, well, maybe not ironically, is maybe not the right word, but just this past month with the way, with the IC opening up and the things that I've been posting, like I've been having local guys reach out to me. Hey, what is this Iron Council? Hey, can we meet? Can you talk about this Iron Council? Can I get on the phone? So, again, it's that what I talked about, adding value, right? So how am I leading locally? Like these guys who some of them I only kind of know, like met a couple times. They follow me on Instagram, but they're seeing the change in me. They're seeing something in what we're doing and in this mission that I'm fully behind. And again, it's just putting yourself out there and adding value, right? That's how I think you lead locally, you lead globally. But
what's the zip code?
08824.
08824. Okay. What is that, Kendall Park?
Yep. Yeah, it's Kendall Park section of South Brunswick Township.
All right. Let's see who I know in your area. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys meet up on the regular. 6 meetups. Each meetup has about 10 to 11 guys on average through the week in your area, guys that are speaking a portion of our language.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Is it like through an organization or like how?
Yeah. They're through their organization. We've got our organization. We're speaking a common language, recognizing intentionality and sovereignty. Those things are already happening in the area. Those are the things that I'm trying to bring together. Of going here, just go speak, go get with some like-minded guys, and go do something stupid and utterly pointless, and then come back and report and tell us how it went.
For sure, yeah. And I would definitely like to do more of those. And I think some of the guys throughout the Iron Council are holding these kind of more formal meetups. Mm-hmm. I would love to do that as well. Like I almost envision because we got some for lack of a better term, heavy hitters, at least from the Iron Council in our area. I got Gatch, I got Alan Placer. Tyson's leaving, but Tyson, we got some pretty good guys. I think we could put on a pretty good event, and I almost foresee like a regional all-day event. You know what I mean? Where we do some of that sweat and then some of that shared suffering, and then maybe not just a meal, but a couple of us talking about the battle plan and being intentional and leadership, because I do think there's value in that, and I think there's people that want it. They just, not that they don't know they want it, they just don't know where to get it, right? I have a local group of friends that we not as much as we'd like anymore, but we train together pretty regularly. We do events together, and I think those guys, we don't necessarily go as deep as we do in the Iron Council. So I think those guys would be into it if we could find kind of that outlet, if that makes sense. That's
going to take empathy on your part, and going and having a few experiences with them, and because you got to rebuild trust.
Sure, for sure.
Time happened, and some trust is lost along the way, and you're gonna have to rebuild it in order to lead them back into something.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a little different than what we do here in the Iron Council, right? Because it's like you've skipped a barrier almost when you join the Iron Council. We all kind of already know why we're here, as opposed to, like you said, building up that trust and back up. It's like, and I can never explain it, but it is like there's just like a lack of judgment in the Iron Council, right? There's so much judgment in the world, but for some reason, I guess it's probably because we already kind of have that shared goal. We're all here because we know we're struggling with something, right? You don't wind up in a place like the Iron Council unless you're struggling with something, right? If you don't, and we are all struggling with something, but if you don't recognize that struggle, you're not really looking to fix it, right?
I think that's our shared suffering piece, that we all got alone with ourselves and ask something bigger than ourselves to go, hey, what was I supposed to be doing in the first place? And then if you did it right, bleh, that's your vision statement. And then you got alone and go, okay, why am I not doing that? Like, okay, now you got some objectives because you took an assessment of things. So
for sure.
Jay, man, good talk, dude.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing more of these conversations you're having and being part of this leading locally movement that you're promoting, because I think that's important. I think that's the one thing that's missing for most guys in the IC is the local aspect. So I love that you're pushing that agenda. That's awesome.
Okay, thanks for leading, man. And
sure.
go dive deep, because your story is going to come out.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you helping me find that story. Whether you realize it or not, Reese, you're a big part of that story. You've been an inspiration from day one since joining the Iron Council for me. So you, Kip, Ryan, you guys are helping me find that story, and I appreciate that. I appreciate you having me on.
This is kind of a dick statement, but I know.
For sure. That's all right. Listen, there's nothing wrong with
I know I'm a part of that, but that's why
confident.
Yeah.
For sure.
Guys, we'll put your links in the channels and get guys following you and help you to lead just the same.
Awesome. I appreciate it, Reese.
Thanks, Jay. Appreciate you, man.
Yep, be good.